Ladies and gentlemen, from the Microsoft Theater here in downtown Los Angeles.
Yes.
I thought SP was going to break in some dance moves, but...
Nah, not this time. Try to give it as much room as we could so that we can get everything we need the way we need to have it.
True.
What's happening, fellas?
What's going on? Oh.
Little virtual break here.
Yeah. Yeah, we minus the big dog today. And he's in Florida right now. So we're minus him. He is a little salty too, because he knew he shouldn't have been planning things with somebody else, because he knew that was going to throw everything off, and sure enough it did. So he's a little salty he can't be here, but it is what it is, man. We still got the elite talent on here, and Carson A. Merck and Sean Zeitel.
Yep.
And me bringing up the rear as usual. Yeah.
On a beautiful Labor Day. Today is Labor Day, right? It's not Monday. Well, we get Monday off.
No, it's Monday.
It is Monday. Okay.
Yeah. I think most holidays just fall on a Monday. But yeah, it is a long weekend though. So by the time they're hearing this, Labor Day was yesterday. And they would have also heard a Motivational Monday yesterday. So
right.
I hope Labor Day treat.
I'll front like they heard it. I hope y'all enjoyed Motivational Monday. We had John Iceman Scully on with us. And I'm sure for anyone who didn't know who John was, definitely if you checked out that Motivational Monday, you checked him out afterwards. And then if you didn't know who he was and you didn't check him out, just based on what you saw, you're interested now, man. And we're definitely going to have him back on because, like I said during the show, he can offer a lot that not too many people that I'm aware of can offer this sport in terms of being able to deliver knowledge the way that he can deliver it. And then the story that this man has, he is the storyteller in boxing. I'm going to coin him that and tell anyone.
Slick Rick of boxing.
Yeah, exactly. And then tell anybody, I like that right there, by the way. So, Slick Rick's my guy. So
yeah. I was thinking today, I saw Errol post something. I was like, it would be kind of funny if Errol came out, if he just to mess with people came out like Slick Rick because the eye patch and everything. But
yeah.
I think it would tie together. I hope Errol's doing well. I hope from everything I've seen, he seems to be in good spirits. And
is he wearing a patch right now?
Yeah. He has to wear a patch. I think they said in an article, I think Mike Coppins wrote, there's a bubble that he has to wear under the patch over his eye.
Wow.
Just to kind of keep everything clean and keep it recovering on schedule. But we had a DAZN card yesterday on Leeds. There's not really. I know you've mentioned this before, SP, but there's not really anything like a English or even European boxing crowd.
The
like
crowd, right? Yeah. Because I watched this one by myself on the phone and, was still kind of on the go because of everything that I had going on this weekend. But tell me if I'm right, if I'm wrong, but it seemed to me like the fight's kind of underwhelmed opposed to the crowd that was there. It seemed like the crowd was hyped and everything, but it didn't seem like the fight's quite delivered the way that the crowd was there.
Probably fair. The crowd set the bar high though, because I feel like the energy was really high. Yeah. So I feel like the energy's that high, you really got to bring it. But I think that's probably a fair statement.
But I was by myself and I'm looking over the phone, and I felt kind of weird even watching it on the phone the way that I was. Yeah. And I was just like, mate, I don't know if it's just me, but I'm not interested in what's going on, So no disrespect to the fighters, but it just,
no, of course not.
I was like, maybe it's the energy that I'm used to feeling around me that's not there. So
no, it's funny you said that too, because mentioning how great the crowd was and how not great the main event turned out to be, and some of the other fights, it was humorous to me to see Warrington come out with this movie-esque entrance and. The crowd's just going crazy. He's the hometown guy, and it's just like, this rematch that he lost and all this theatrics, and then it's just the fight's over and a headbutt in round 2 and everybody goes home, and that was it. Very anticlimactic.
Well, and I would say almost across the board on the card, there wasn't like, sometimes you can go back whether an event in general maybe not underwhelmed, but was just kind of okay. There's usually at least somebody that had like a really standout performance where we could be like, yeah, fight, but hey, man, that fight by so-and-so was crazy. Like they really did their thing. But there wasn't like Ebanie Bridges fought really close. I know she said she hurt her hand. She could have lost that fight, to be honest. Really close fight. Mm-hmm. And then I'm trying to think who was next after that. Was Ben after that?
I think Ben was after.
There was another one, and then it was Giovanni Straffon and Maxi Hughes, which that might have been the best. I thought Hughes did well, landed some big shots, and then obviously Ben and Granados was. I'm not sure. Would you say you're disappointed in this performance, either of you? Just
you're talking about Ben, right?
Yeah, Conor Benn.
No, I think when you consider how dominant he's been as of late, I think I kind of expected more. But then don't forget that like I'm in there and I do it and I've done it. And so when I see the opposite side of it, proposing some things that would create difficulty for the guy you expect to win and do as much as he did. But for me, I can't help but kind of tip my hat to Granados and his preparation and his game plan through the course of the night. You know, I felt like he was prepared, and it made it tricky and not as eye-catching for Conor Benn as it has been as of late. But when I took a look at what Ben was doing, I thought that Conor Benn had a really exceptional performance.
Yeah.
What about you? Yeah, because I like what you said over the WhatsApp.
Well, I thought, part of what made it so tricky for Conor to look good was Granados, who usually is a warrior, but got KO'd by Danny a couple years ago, and it's been a little rough for him since that fight. That's where it looked like it could have took something out of him. But he came in good shape, like you said, and he came prepared. But what made it so tricky for Ben to look good was after the third round or so, Granados was just fighting to go the distance, in a way you don't usually see him fight. And that made it hard for Conor Benn to look good. And I think I said this on the podcast a week or two ago, but, he's Britain's guy in this division, the glamour division, the welterweight division. He's following up Conan Brook. So they got pedigree in this division in the recent history. I think he's developing very well into a real player, a real contender at 147, which is always loaded. I think our guys here in the States, Virgil and Ennis, are a step above. But I think he's their guy coming from the UK, that boxing crazed country. I think part of why they were so crazy tonight is they haven't had a chance to go to a lot of big boxing since the pandemic. So that's why they were so crazy. But no, the thing with Conor Benn is, in a way though, and Chris Eubank Jr. is a good fighter. He's fought for titles, fought good fighters. But if he has to be wary not to go the way of Chris Eubank Jr., who, like him, son of a great UK fighter, has speed, has explosiveness and athleticism and gifts, but for whatever reason, Eubank can't hit the mark in these big fights, and he can't put it all together. And Ben, he'll just have to be wary of, if not be wary of that, but he'll have to make sure to just keep improving and improving and improving, and not just get by on his athleticism and some of his explosiveness going forward. But he's developing into a real contender.
Yeah. Yeah, my fault. Go ahead.
No, I was gonna say, I'm a huge Conor Benn fan. Like I said, he just keeps like everything about him. I'm like, man, I really like that guy. But I think it was another step for him. I don't like the criticism that Granados was on his bike or was running. He was less aggressive than maybe we typically see from him. And Conor Benn and Eddie both kind of alluded to, he was supposed to stand there, and it's like, well, he didn't, so you have to adjust. The big note I have with Ben is he has power, he has explosiveness, he's very fast, he's very quick, but he misses wide a lot, like really bad. Like he throws these huge power shots, which have gotten people out of there.
Comes in Carson.
Yeah, it's just like he throws these wide shots. I'm like, that's fine against somebody like Adrian Granados, where he's not going to be right there to counter that and do damage on you. But like any of the top guys, even any of the guys he's mentioned, even Adrian Broner, like he wants Adrian Broner for Adrian Broner. If you miss wide like that, AB can counter that and do some serious damage. Put Shawn down, but the
AB could counter that, and AB did put Shawn down, but AB
so I'm just
not,
that's just
that was
my
a bad
thing.
example. That was a bad example.
That was just like to throw a jab, but I feel like because he wants these guys, and I love that ambitiousness about him, that he wants Amir Khan, he wants Adrian Broner, he wants to fight you, he wants to fight all these guys, and any of them capitalize on those big missed punches. It was my main takeaway, but I thought he still won comfortably.
I thought I see athleticism from him. I see good boxing IQ from him. And the other thing that I really liked about him was when, even though you're saying that Granados used the ring and he moved a lot, yes, I mean, you're fighting. I'm fighting you. What would I do against you? You know what I mean? Go back again to Manny and Ugas. Manny, he needed his legs, and he didn't have his legs that night. Using your legs against Ugas is what beats Ugas. It's not always about standing toe to toe. And sometimes when you make certain matchups, you're like, okay, I'm picking this guy because I know he's going to stand toe to toe, and I know he's going to give Conor Benn some opportunities to knock him out. But again, you got to go kudos to Granados and his team for knowing that, hey, we can't stand there and take the same amount of punishment that we've been taking over the course of your career. I don't know how many fights they think they got left, but with this fight specifically, they did the right thing by trying to use the ring and set up Conor Benn at certain moments. And that was, again, what I liked about Granados was it wasn't like he just ran, did the Rigondeaux run. He saw moments where he wanted to step forward and exchange, and then he got back to that space that he knew he could use and things like that. But on the other side of that, I liked how Conor Benn was moving with him. He was cutting off the ring. He was taking steps over to the right, steps over to the left. Far too often we see guys just following the other guy around the ring, waiting on him to run, or waiting on him to fight. You know what I mean? So I thought that Conor boxed accordingly. The one thing that I did want to ask you about, Carson, you sent me a video. I didn't get all the way through the video, but it just seemed like he had a lot on his mind coming into the ring. And it seemed to me like it was stuff on his mind that shouldn't have been there at this point. It seemed like he was kind of hung up on having his fight postponed and wanting to get back in the ring. And it seemed to me like he felt like he missed his moment of shine. And to me, it was like, okay, your moment was there, but your moment's now. Like, let that go and have your moment now. And it seemed like it kind of got in the way.
For me, I think it was a combination of the postponement probably weighing on him, and also he has a young kid. And so I think he's still young and a young father. And so I think he's kind of figuring out, I mean, you've had to do it yourself, where you have to kind of figure out, okay, when am I present as a dad and when am I training? So I think a lot of his frustration came from that, and that he wants to balance that out and, be present for his kid and not, be away and just kind of balance that out. He definitely seemed, he was a little wound up about that, but and I think for Granados, I mean, he definitely landed some nice shots in those exchanges. He'd get kind of like a little sneaky little shot in there. And for him, it is something where it's like you mentioned using the ring. Good. Like, you don't have to, just because you have a reputation of, and that seemed like the annoyance from Conor and from Eddy was like, well, this guy, usually stands there. It's like, well, he didn't. So you have to, like, tough luck. You can't just be like, hey, you know what? You were kind of like you and Ugas. Hey, you're Shawn Porter. You're supposed to always come forward. Adrian Granados, you're supposed to stand here and exchange. Why? You're not allowed to run. Like, you're not allowed to use the ring. It's just kind of weird.
It seemed like that was kind of like the stint after the fight, like you said, was that, hey, man, we expected this dude to fight us. And then, like I said, the other take that I got from that was it seemed like something was in the way. But, I'll continue to mimic to him what I've said in some other interviews. But be patient and take your time. Now, guess what? I don't know how old his son is, or is he a boy?
I think it's a baby.
Boy? I don't know how old his baby is.
I think it's a baby boy.
You gotta be patient now. You gotta start to try to figure it out. It doesn't happen overnight, and it doesn't happen in one camp. It takes multiple camps for you and your family to learn the rituals and the routines, when you're going to be gone, when you're going to be home, how your mind is 5 weeks out of a fight opposed to 5 months out of a fight, opposed to 5 days from a fight. You know what I mean? Our minds are really different. I'll be at home 5 months from a fight and I'm all the way there. 5 weeks before a fight, I'm in and I'm out. Like I'm literally in your face. My wife's talking to me and I'm like seeing the fight. It kind of is what it is. You know what I mean? And then 5 days from a fight, don't talk. Don't talk.
Right.
You know what I mean? So he'll learn that as he goes. But, you know, my advice, hopefully it gets to him, is just to be patient. Don't allow, you know, the way that this camp went to affect the next camp, unless there's going to be positive effects. You know what I mean? Don't take anything negative from it and carry it into the next one. Oh, we can't do this. Oh, we can't do that. Be calm, be patient, and learn from it, because what we know in the ring and in war is the guys who are calm are the ones who make it through. The guys who are patient and find those opportunities are the ones who make it through. So that's all I have for him, man. But I'm a fan of him. You know what I mean? I like his charisma. I like his boxing style. We go back to that real quick. I liked his head movement.
He gets really low.
Yeah, I like this head movement. I like the fact that he's aware defensively. He's got the roll. There were moments where Granados tried to throw some shots and he was able to bring the hand up. I saw the awareness. I like him. It wasn't the big bang that we expected. Yeah. But to me, it was still a really good performance.
And it's not always going to be that big bang. That is something that at some point it's not going to happen. So
and you got to learn from that too. You know what I mean?
And then Katie Taylor does what she typically does.
Yeah,
one-sided destruction. I think,
and again, it was weird because it was one-sided, but I just felt like it was underwhelmed.
And I think I would like to say, for me personally, I think because we're such big fans of some of the other female fighters like Serrano, I think maybe in my mind I've downplayed Katie Taylor in my head, because I'm like, yeah, if she fights Amanda Serrano, like I think Serrano wins, and I think I let that kind of, like, she is unbelievable as a fighter. She's great. Katie, but it was Katie. Yeah. But it was just kind of a really good performance. Yeah, did what she always does, and that was it.
And then again, styles make fights. So on the other hand, you had Jennifer Hearn, who's got a long amateur background. She's been a professional for a while. She's got boxing in her family. They know the tricks of the trade. And even though they're 2-minute rounds, it seemed like they was able to pull all the tricks out of the bag. And I found myself like trying to find that round that she had won, and I didn't really see that. I didn't seem to do enough in any of the 10 rounds that she had against Katie Holmes or
Katie Taylor.
Katie Holmes.
Katie Holmes, Catwoman.
Katie Taylor, for me to give her a round, but again, I thought she boxed really well. You know what I mean? So I thought everybody was matched up like pretty dang good the other night. You know,
what do you think about her fight?
One side you're expecting big bangs, and then on the other side you're like, hey, they were matched up with some people that weren't giving them those bangs.
I got the Dawson's Creek theme song stuck in my head now.
Yeah,
my bad.
But beautiful song. But with Katie Taylor, it's, you know, she became undisputed pretty fresh out the gate. So these last handful of title defenses, it just feels monotonous. It's like I already know she's the greatest lightweight champion in the world. You know, she's Katie Taylor, and there's really nothing else I need to see outside of fighting in Amanda Serrano or, you know, Michaela Mayer moving up from 130 pounds. You know, those are the fights. She already beat the 140-pound champion and Jessica McCaskill. So for me, the only fights I really want to see from Katie Taylor are Serrano and Mayer, you know. But that being said, I'm happy you said that about, you know, all of us, I think, tend to just go to Amanda Serrano right away. You know, Puerto Rico is closer than Ireland. You know, we're more familiar with Amanda, but and Amanda's her power, it makes her so fun to watch.
Yeah. But
Amanda is a fighter that's, you know, won titles as low as 112 and 115 and 118. And so she's not, I don't think she's as naturally sturdy at 135 as Katie Taylor is. And watching the Olympics where Katie won those 2 gold medals, it really taught me, you know, sometimes the style you like isn't what's necessarily winning rounds, what's being effective. Mm-hmm. And I think Katie, with her combinations and her output, and Amanda, you know, she goes forward, so she's taking some shots for every beautiful, you know, she has 2. You could throw 3 or 4 shots out of her, and she'll slip 2 or 3 of them beautifully. And but some of them are getting in because she's staying in there. She's keeping her nose in there. Mm-hmm. And I think with Katie's combinations, she could outpoint Amanda potentially in that fight. And so I just, that's where I'm at. I know Eddie Hearn said after the fight, she's got her mandatories, and then we can go.
Yeah, he said early next year, or maybe in the spring next year, they can make that happen at Madison Square Garden at the Mecca. But
let's see it.
Yeah, let's see it. Main event was very brief.
Yeah,
tough. I don't really have a grand takeaway on that. If I'm Lara, maybe I'm a little frustrated because it seemed like Warrington he hit him with his head a couple times in the limited action. So maybe you're a little frustrated there and you have a gash above your eye. So that's also not ideal. But do either you want desperately to see Warrington Lara 3 or Lara Warrington 3, however you word it?
I tell you what, I thought that Lara, it's something about him, and I think he really has Warrington's number, because I thought Warrington won the first round, but I thought that Warrington looked looked uncomfortably in control. I don't know if that even makes sense, but it looked like he was doing what he wanted to do, but he still looked really antsy. Again, I know it's the first round. Sometimes it takes a few rounds to get comfortable and things like that. But then in the second round, that head came, and I watched a couple of times to see if it was intentional or anything like that. And then I thought to myself, like, I don't know what a head collision is intentional. I really
Victor Ortiz.
Well, yeah, no, that one was different.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
But it seemed like in that second round, it seemed like something had clicked, and Lara was on his way to start breaking down Warrington. Now, I know that we didn't get as much action as we had saw, so most of that is really just a prediction for me. Yeah, it was a projection based on what I saw, but I don't know, man. Just in 2 rounds, it was a close first round, but I thought that Warrington clearly won that round.
I agree.
I saw a little bit of this in that round. And then that second round, I was like, I think Lara won this round. And it seemed like Lara had a punch that he was about to start going to that was going to break Warrington down. And I'll leave it at that. But I don't know, man. I really don't want to see a third fight. Kind of has to happen. So we'll probably get a third fight. Hopefully, I think that fight will live up to the expectations that the English fans have for this one.
Well, we know it'll sell tickets based on what we saw tonight.
Yeah.
Or last night. So economically, I don't see why they wouldn't make a third fight. Warrington would still deserve a chance based on what happened to get it back. But what you're saying, Shawn, makes sense, and we see it a lot with fighters that are ahead on the cards against Mexican fighters like Lara, like Margarito, like Salido, where you're getting off to your quick start, but they're just coming in so calmly, and they're killing the body, and in the second half of the fight, it's just going to get worse and worse for the guy. And Warrington doesn't have any power. He's fast hands, and that dude's in great shape. I mean, he's in great shape, Warrington. But that said, it sold a lot of tickets. Let's see it again. It was funny how the British crowd was so gentlemanly about the fight. I mean, I'd be kind of pissed off,
I was surprised to see that. I thought it was gonna be way different than it was, but I don't know, man. I don't. They're supporting the fighters, And
it's also something where you can visually see the issue. So it's not like if something had happened and they're like, oh, this guy, he wants a way out, he's diving. Like, you can see that Lara's eye is completely open. So it's like it's tough to be too critical. But
he was talking a lot after the fight, when the ref brought them together. I don't know what exactly he was trying to say.
I'm not sure either.
I got a feeling it was something along the lines of that was effed up, because we train all this for 12 rounds or less, of course, and we wanted to go the way that we wanted to go. And when it ends that quickly, because it's something that we've been putting a lot into, it's like almost like it's like starting a movie and not finishing it.
Yeah.
It's like, yo, I'm here. I'm ready to finish this now. I don't want to start over from square one and have to redo everything that I just did to get here to this night.
What it's very similar to is Franco and Maloney.
Yeah.
Obviously, Maloney loses. Looks like he's getting out to a better start in the second fight, and then obviously a headbutt there. But this one was a headbutt, and then
great comparison, Carson.
Yeah, but big boxing news of the week, and unfortunate boxing news of the week. Oscar Valdez.
I thought you were talking about me.
No, very that was very non-eventful. But September 14th, stay tuned for that. And Eddy, we can kind of touch on that to close on DAZN. Eddy on the broadcast when they were interviewing him on the DAZN boxing show said he would be making a bid on that as well. So interesting. Yeah, shout out to Eddy. But
it's weird. Like, I didn't care about it until it was happening. And then like day of, I got really hyped.
Yeah.
I have not come down from that.
Yeah.
So like I'm
the suspense. Yeah, the suspense is keeping us interested. But yeah, so Oscar Valdez.
Shawn, do you want to be Cuba Gooding and I'm Tom Cruise?
Show me the money.
Show me the money.
The Quan
movie right there, man.
That's a good movie. Yeah, and speaking of Arizona, tie that in. Obviously, Rod Tidwell. I don't know. I'm worn out from it just because it was such like a. So for anyone that doesn't know, if you're listening to this, you're a boxing fan, so I would assume you know. But Oscar Valdez, test dirty for something that is some describe as a central nervous stimulant. What was that?
Phentermine, is that right, Carson?
I wasn't even going to attempt that. I wasn't even going to attempt. That sounds right, but yeah. So it's frustrating. I also forgot that he was fighting, to be completely candid, and that's on Friday. So he tests positive, and the issue is that he tested positive, but then it becomes this like circus of trying to figure out, well, does it benefit him in training? Does it not? Does he, because the tribe, because it's in Arizona, it's one of the Native American, it's like a tribe, is kind of like we had in Tulsa,
right,
where they only seem to acknowledge WADA drug testing, but this was a failed VADA drug test.
Why are you even testing VADA if they don't?
And they signed to do VADA testing.
Yeah.
And he's a part of the obviously WBC has the clean boxing program. And then there's, we think he got it maybe from an herbal tea. And then Valdez is like, I don't know how I got it. So why even mention the tea to begin with this lawyer? So I don't know. I'm frustrated just because, as you know, I'm like, PEDs are amongst sports topics that fire me up. PEDs are one of the top ones.
Yeah, they're number one.
Yeah, and so it's like, and I'm frustrated. I like the WBC. I like what they're about. But letting him fight right now is against Conceicao is wrong. It's just the wrong decision.
Yeah. I was with Pastor Randall Cunningham on Thursday, and his daughter Vashti. Shout out to Vashti. She is an Olympic jumper, high jumper.
Yeah.
And she's been this is her second time going to the Olympic Games. This year she placed 6th, I believe. And we kind of got into the conversation of PEDs. He feels that, it's still a lot of that going around in the Olympic Games and things like that. So I'm just out of curiosity. So what do they actually do? Like the dishwashing commercial.
Yeah.
That's my damn commercial right there. I feel like I refer to that commercial once a week. But anyway, I said, so what do they actually do? And he says a majority of steroids or PEDs don't do what I thought they do. I thought PEDs was all about the muscle.
Yeah.
Enhance the muscle and they give you power and things like that. He said, no. He said they make it PEDs make it so that you can last longer.
Yeah.
So you have more stamina than other athletes. He said, and it's really relevant to high jumpers because you jump one day, but then when you come back 2 days later to jump, you're not fatigued from the first day of jumping. Whereas athletes who do not do PEDs they get fatigued. And the same thing in the boxing ring. You imagine, like I've used this analogy before where, if you just look at it as a game and you got 100 getting in the ring with 100, and then you, after a couple of rounds, 4 or 5 rounds, everybody's supposed to go like this. Yeah. But the PED will keep this guy a little higher than this guy. This guy trained his ass off, so he's staying where he's supposed to stay.
Yeah.
This guy probably trained his ass off, but he did some other things too, which keeps him a little higher than this guy. So it's just not fair, and it shouldn't happen. And no, he should not be fighting. Valdez should not be fighting.
And it's just one of those things where, and then to try to, whether it's WBC and Mauricio Sulaiman try to say it's like drinking 3 Red Bulls, and it's like, come on, like why? So here's my issue: why is it on a banned substance list in anything? If it's just a diuretic, why is it banned? And then for WADA, it's only banned in competition. So like the night of the fight, like that 24-hour block. So if all it does is help you lose weight, you're not losing weight in that time. So why is it banned? Clearly it helps, stimulate, give you more energy.
Right.
And one funny point that I saw somebody mention is, how pissed off do you have to be David Benavidez? He loses his title. His first time to win a title for cocaine.
Yeah.
And which really only hurts him. It's a substance that
and that was out of competition. He didn't do cocaine the night of the fight and then go into the ring. He tested positive outside, loses his belt, and then you have Valdez, who's doing a substance that helps you perform in the ring, and you're still able to fight and not stripped of his belt. And there's something like if he tests negative and passes all these tests for like a probationary time, he's like an ambassador for clean boxing. And he does like this video where he's like, I'm 100% a clean fighter. But as you're saying that, you're not. You failed the drug test, so you're not 100% clean fighter. Like you failed one before right now. So it frustrates me.
Well, Stephen Edwards, Bredman Edwards, really good boxing trainer, former junior middleweight champion trainer for J-Rock, Julian Williams. He mentioned that was a domino effect for Benavidez, and that if he doesn't get stripped of that, it could be him fighting Canelo Alvarez these days and not Caleb Plant. So that's good to your point. But for Valdez, it pains me to go there with him because, I all year I said that his knockout of Berchelt was the best performance in boxing we saw all year.
Mm-hmm.
And, I wouldn't question it. This is a man who fought through a broken jaw against a guy in Scott Quick who didn't even make weight. He came in a whole weight class above Oscar, broke his jaw in the second fight in the second round, and Oscar fought a whole 10 rounds with a broken jaw. So this is a guy with some of the biggest balls in boxing. But that said, in that great performance, in talking about it, I think I even said to you guys a couple times how it was amazing how Valdez didn't get tired that fight with Berchelt. Mm-hmm. He was throwing these huge bombs. He was using his legs to the utmost, and Berchelt had a pressure that wouldn't stop. Literally, it looked like the only thing holding Berchelt up was this guy has to get tired with the amount of punches I'm throwing and what he's using to knock me out.
Yeah,
never got tired. He never got tired in that fight, and it was almost superhuman the way that happened. And I'm not saying that is what happened. Valdez took something, or something was in his system that allowed him to do that. But what I am saying is it casts a shadow over what was, to me, clearly the best performance in boxing of 2021. Yeah. Not saying that, in fact, he had a substance in his system that helped him do that. But now I don't know for sure if he did not. And,
what you're saying is very similar to what Timothy Bradley said. Timothy Bradley on State of Boxing on ESPN was like, I said I was a huge fan of him, but now I hope he gets knocked out. Like I hope Conceicao knocks him out. Like it does. If anything, it leaves the door open. And then somebody also said, well, he didn't test positive for the VADA testing for that fight, but he did for this one, and they'll still let him fight anyway. So who the hell knows? Maybe he did test positive, and they were like, you're good. It's all good. So if it leaves the suspicion there for sure.
And I'll be at the fight this Friday down there in Arizona, and it's still, just because I feel, since the fight is going on, I should talk about the fight itself. And Robson Conceicao, he did win the gold medal. He's not ranked in the top 10 by ESPN or anything by that, but he's never lost. He does got fast hands. So this could turn out to be, and he beat Valdez as an amateur. So this could turn out to be a tougher fight than anticipated. And I guess, that would make a lot of people happy right now because a lot of people are mad at Valdez. And Bernard Hopkins said a couple years ago, it's unfortunate, but when a guy gets popped for this kind of thing, it actually gives him more publicity, more headlines. So in a way, I think more people are going to be watching Valdez than Warrant on Friday. So we'll see what happens with Valdez. But yeah, still want to see the Herring Stevenson winner fight him next. But yeah, we'll see, man. It got heat not only his way but Canelo Alvarez's way, as we saw from Caleb Plant.
Yeah, from a fighter perspective, SP, and Valdez even said, like, because they had Mark Kriegel, who did a really good job interviewing him, he was like, why should he even fight you? Would you fight yourself if you were him? And he was like, oh yeah, you get a shot at a world title, of course, like, why wouldn't you? Is it something, how does it feel like, just if somebody kind of has that before a fight hanging over them and you have to get into the ring with them?
I don't think we're doing it.
Yeah.
And I especially anybody in the top 5, I don't think we're doing it. Because us in the welterweight division, all of us at the top 5, you can even go as high as top 10. We really don't need anything more than we got to go to the ring with. We've seen it now where styles make fights, and depending on how well you train for the fight and what you came to the ring with in terms of your game plan, when you get in there, it's war, and then after that war, that's all it needs to be. You know what I mean? We've shown that we can do it without the extra nonsense, which I can consider complete nonsense. And with that being said, if it's Errol Spence Jr. and he gets popped a week before the fight, we're more than likely pulling out of that fight. If it's Manny, we're pulling out of that fight. If it's any of those guys, I'm grateful that none of us, at least to this point, has been popped for anything. No nonsense, because it shows how great this division is. And I think that the division has been 100%. I don't think there's anybody in my division who's doing any craziness and getting away with it. And I do know that can happen in our sport. They have what do they call them? Cycles. Yeah. And when you talk about Valdez's other fight and how great he fought, and you say, hey, this casts a shadow over that. He didn't test for anything in that fight, but let's keep it real. He might have figured out that or done a cycle the right way. You know what I mean? So, that kind of stuff happens, man. But I know that when it does happen, the fight should be called off immediately. It's a part of the sport. It's a lot of money and a lot of time and effort for the promotion. All that's, I get all that, but it should not go before the health of or potential health of fighters. Thank you very much.
I agree. Just what if Robeson? Everything you said is true. It's just, it sucks for a guy like Conceicao, who
the love in Cleveland, man. The love.
Was it an apple?
It was
apple. The love. I look parched or something. I don't know.
But it sucks in a case like this for a guy like Conceicao, who's 32. This is what he's been waiting on. I don't know how much money he's bringing with him from Brazil. This is for him his big 6-figure payday shot. And so if you cancel the fight, it also punishes it in a effed up way. It punishes him. So it's a tough situation. I think it should always be up to the guy on the other end. Hey, do you still want to go through with this? And it's your health. And do you still want to get the pay? Or not? And
not to try to tie storylines together from this past week too much, but obviously the tragic loss of Jeanette Zacharias Zapata, who gets injured in the ring and unfortunately passes away, 18 years old. So it's tough to look at it and not relate those two, because everyone, obviously rightfully so, is devastated by the loss of this young lady getting in the ring. And then on the other hand, you're like, yeah, it's fine. Like we'll allow him to fight with a steroid in his system or a PED. So it's just like those two factor into each other. Somebody gets hurt and we do this whole thing where it's like, oh my gosh, it's tragic how. But then you're willing to let somebody in there who tested positive for a performance-enhancing banned substance in the ring, where he could injure somebody in this a similar fashion. Hopefully, of course, that doesn't happen. But it's frustrating. Also, even to kind of touch on her unfortunate situation, she got stopped in a fight in Mexico like less than a handful of months ago, and was somehow allowed to fight again. This time was in Canada. A very quick turnaround. I'm not sure why there wasn't that mandatory suspension or medical suspension. But thoughts to her and her family and everyone involved. But yeah, it's just to tie those together. It's just like you can say that you're unhappy about boxing being dirty and people being hurt in the ring, but then you have the situation, like you said, SP, where there's money involved, there's promotion involved, there's everything involved. I get that. And do I want to lose that kind of money on anything? Of course not. Nobody does. The WBC doesn't, the venue doesn't, nobody does. But look at the other side. Like it's just doing what's right compared to what's financially beneficial.
Yeah, that's what it amounts to. And, the sake of putting my foot in my mouth, there's too many voices in boxing. There's too many people that command and have power. And depending on who's getting in the ring that night, depending on, unfortunately, I have to say it, depending on what sanctioning body's getting in the ring that night, it's not even just about the fighters. Sometimes it's depending on what sanctioning body's getting in the ring and what they want to happen. It's unfortunate, but it's the sport still. And I really do. I have faith that at some point things are going to change for the better for this sport. And
why not? And this could be me just being cluelessly optimistic. Why not err on the side of caution here, rather than try to do like this? Like I said, these acrobatics of, well, technically he's out of competition, so it wasn't really this, and he's never tested positive before, so who cares? Like, instead, why not just say, hey, it's off for now.
Yeah,
you got to get this out of your system. You got to test. You got to do this, rather than try to come up with a way to, well, if he does this, then
because keep it real, we're all grown men. When something pops up, when something happens, we know exactly what's going on. Yeah. We know exactly we're nobody's for the sake of breastfeeding us. Nobody's feeding us out of their hand or telling us, hey, this is for you. If somebody says, hey, this is for you, and you're just taking it, that's just idiotic on your behalf. Or in this case, what I would assume is ignorant on your behalf to even attempt to do it. You know what I mean? So, and even to this point, I think we've spent enough time on it.
And they also were like, yeah, this isn't even something that would be in T. So that's just kind of silly in itself. But
I don't know.
Yeah.
But I don't know.
We can kind of touch on to close on that, like Zytel mentioned. Caleb went on, I would describe it as a Twitter tirade as far as, and I think it was Devin Haney that started it, and Caleb piggybacked off the Devin Haney that obviously Canelo has previously tested positive, and obviously Oscar Valdez also works with Eddy Reynoso, and so Caleb did not spare words or vitriol or hatred for that camp.
I asked Caleb, before that fight got signed, I'm like, you're kind of I'm sensing from you're like Sonny Corleone in The Godfather. When the guy calls him on the phone and he's like, don't lose that temper of yours. He goes, no, I'll wait. And that's what I was getting from Caleb heading into this fight, because he was the Caleb plan. I know that everybody knows that fought Uzcategui. I'll fight both of you on the same night, and and that's on me, and I'll fight anybody here. And then as the Canelo fight, he was just calm. We'll see. We're talking about things, keeping things under wraps. And now that the fight is signed, and now that everything's ironed out, the real Caleb Plant, or for people who want to make jokes about him, the real Slim Shady has shown up. He's here, and we got to fight. We got to fight. This is him setting the tone from now.
Is the boxing world doing that to him?
No, I think this is Caleb.
You call him Slim Shady. Yeah, it's gonna happen. But
I like to make that joke sometimes.
Yeah, but and I'm not sure. I like that from Caleb. I like the anger. I like the fire. But also, I guess from a grander perspective, is it fair to make that assumption about Eddy Reynoso? Maybe. You have multiple guys in your camp test positive for something. It's tough not to. It's tough for me to be like, maybe it's just happenstance that happened. But he was fired up. He made some very odd comparisons there. One I'm not even going to address because I don't like one of the individuals involved. But SP, I think you can piece together where I'm going with that, but you got nothing.
I got you.
Yeah. but to be fair, I'll say it because I feel like we can't just allude to that. Somebody was like, "Oh, that you work with Victor Conte," so kind of tough talk. And to be fair, one of the biggest downsides from this week is hearing from Victor Conte in general, but one of my most disliked people in the world. But
I looked at Conte's comments about Valdez as kind of gamesmanship from the Caleb Plant camp. I'm not saying it's Caleb telling him to do or anything, but here's Conte, who I've heard everyone say helped devise VADA, he knows the test inside and out. He helped advise them on how to do this thing.
He's a mad genius, and Carson hates it.
And so here he is.
Because let me cut you off quickly, Zytel, because if that's the case, then if I help you build something, it's like Star Wars. If I help you build the Death Star, I know how to destroy the Death Star. So if I helped you devise VADA testing, I probably have a good guess on how to beat VADA testing. And I think Victor Conte is just kind of a slime ball in general. But go ahead.
That's a hell of an argument.
Yeah. But the comparison was like that he was convicted, he did prison time, and Caleb tried to relate it to Nipsey Hussle, which was just kind of an interesting connection. But I don't know. It's weird because we don't know. Like, am I very suspicious, and do I think Eddy Reynoso's camp needs to be looked at and maybe kind of focused on? Absolutely. I name another trainer that has multiple people test positive for performance-enhancing drugs or banned substances, kind of. But also, it's like maybe it is somehow a coincidence. I don't know. Just kind of weird.
I look at it as Conte and them kind of, we're on your ass, Canelo. We got the guy who's helping us out, who knows this VADA stuff in and out. Your right-hand fighter in the Reynoso camp just got popped for it. We're on your ass. And Caleb, like Shawn did the day before Pacquiao Thurman, when it became an official with Spence, Shawn threw down the gauntlet. He literally grabbed the mic that day and he brought the energy to let everyone know, you think it's going to go one way, it's going to go another way. And Caleb has people like Mike Tyson saying everybody I talk to in boxing thinks Caleb's going to get destroyed. I don't think it's going to go that way. And I think him doing this and the Modelo line about people holding Modelos, that builds the fight up hot.
That was a little much for me. But
let's not take it to somewhere disgusting like immigration or but, they're going to call him certain names as well. And he could do the Modelo. Let's build this into a big fight in a tasteful enough way. And I just take it as him calling Canelo the biggest bitch of the year, and Reynoso is, he's here to fight. He's here to fight. He's not here to fold like Billy Joe Saunders and Callum Smith. And we're on your ass, Canelo, and it's on. I think this has the makings of this fight being bigger than people think it's going to be. I'm hyped. The hype train has started with this one. I like it. I like it from Caleb.
And what I know about Victor Conte and what he does is he's all about the social media. He's going to put heat on Canelo in their camp. Every time they're supposed to test, he's going to be on the phone making sure they testing at the moment and all that. So heat's not going to stop. And if you consider it a strategy, I like the strategy from the Plant camp in terms of putting that type of heat and pressure on Canelo and his team.
Victor Conte is also always about Victor Conte. I think is one of my issues with him. Like that dude loves him some Victor Conte, but I hate that guy. But and another thing with Caleb, obviously the fight's still a little ways out, but working with Andre Ward up in the Bay with SOG. I like that.
That's what I mean. The hype has begun. The story intensifies. That's all good for building up to a fight. So what we need is a big fight with everything being canceled. And Dre.
I was gonna say, Sean, SP. What do you think as far as that? Obviously, Andre Ward isn't gonna all of a sudden be his trainer or anything like that. What can you gain being around somebody like Andre Ward for a little bit of time?
If you can pick up on the trades that that Dre has, that Ward has, then it will improve your game. I was around Sugar Shane for a while, and he would show me some move. I said, Shane, I can't do it like that. He says, yeah, you can't get champ. Just keep trying. I said, I'm watching you. I can't do it the way you're doing it. You've been doing it your whole life. It's brand new. I said I could work on it, but it's never gonna look the way that you wanted it to look. There's other things that he's shown me. I picked up on them like that, no problem, and I use them to this day. You know what I mean? So if Caleb's able to pick up on the things that the small nuances that Ward is gonna give him, and I'm gonna tell y'all, most of them are gonna be mental. A lot of them are not even gonna be the physical things. So I think that is great for him to go get the mental. Dre brings a lot of like motivation along with the education that he has. Pick up on that, then go wherever else you're gonna go to get the physical presence that you're gonna need to have against Canelo. I mean, I'm talking about finding guys who can spar with that type of intensity that he's gonna see night of. He doesn't want to wait until night of to feel that type of intensity. He needs to feel it along the way. Not every sparring session, but definitely along the way, because that's going to do what? Build this up and build this up, which a lot of people underestimate right now. These two things about Caleb Plant. They haven't seen enough physical, and they don't know about the mental presence that he has in the ring and the heart that he has in the ring as well. But I think that he's well on his way to having a really good camp.
Is Dre one of the best guys to learn from? Is he like if there's like a Mount Rushmore of guys maybe to learn from?
And even if I take my bias out of it, I think that Dre is a good guy to learn from, because Dre will look at you and he'll give you advice based on what he feels you can do. He's not going to give you Andre Ward advice and expect you to be Andre Ward. He's going to give Caleb Plant advice with a little mix of this is what Ward might do, could do, what you might do, could do, and then allow Caleb to handle the rest. So yeah, I do think that he is a great guy to get advice from, because he's not somebody who's going to come into camp and try to change the camp, change the fighter. He's going to give the fighter education based on what he knows the fighter can do. And you've seen me on TV. To me, he's me on PEDs. You know what I mean? I just think that he can do it, man. And
Virgil Hunter there as well.
Yeah, he can really analyze fighters and give you the A through Z on fighters. So he's the man.
Shawn, what's some of the things that you could tell us that you do remember with Sugar Shane?
Shane was I don't even remember the move that he was trying to show me, but I felt and I feel silly talking about it, because in the moment it was one of those things where I knew, as athletic as I am, I should be able to do this. And it doesn't look the way that he does it, because he's been doing it forever. And I think I was kind of tricking myself out of it mentally, but I also just really felt like I felt silly in the moment trying to do something that I felt like he had mastered 10 times over and was trying to show me and just expecting me to do it. But one move he showed me that I really liked, that I still use today, he was showing me how to throw a jab and kind of dip my shoulder down, dip my chin down under my jab, and also bring my hand up. So sometimes you'll have a guy who you go jab for jab. So somebody, when they see you start the jab, they'll jab with you. And you may get hit, you may not get hit. But he was showing me how to take my head off of the line so that the other person's jab goes across. And even if it doesn't, I've still got my hand up to block the jab if it were to get past the first defense that I have of getting off line. So I really like that move, and that's something I still use today. But
I think there was a fan question that was similar in the past, but how important is it as a fighter? Even obviously you were a world champion by the time you were getting that instruction from Shane. How important is it for a young fighter to learn from older fighters, and how important is you now maybe being more of a veteran in the game to give back to the young fighters, kind of just the exchange of information?
I think it's important. A lot of the information we get is all universal, just like the jab, just like the right hand. But then you'll have somebody call the right hand a brick. Nassim Richardson, he would call the right hand the brick hand. So he would say one brick, or he would say jab brick, double brick hand. You know, so small little things like that make it a little different. But for the most part, it's everything that we learn is universal. However, there are some tricks to the trade that a veteran who's 35 has been through it all, amateur and pro, will know that the 25-year-old just doesn't know, So I think it's really important for Caleb to do what he's doing right now, to get some advice or get some motivation, everything that he's going to get from Dre. I know that you don't go spend a week with Andre Ward and not get anything from it, But I think that it's important for those guys who are older in the game to be willing to give that advice, to be willing to give those instructions, be willing to get picked up and train a guy and get paid for that training. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I think more than anything, be willing to give the information opposed to expecting something in return. I think that's kind of how this game is kind of molded. Is molded from the coach teaching the fighter, then that fighter growing up teaching the next fighter, and that fighter growing, this lineage behind boxing that should always carry on, and it does because of things that Dre's like, because of like what Dre is doing now.
Yeah,
and I think also what's interesting about this going down with Caleb and Andre is Andre. I know he's good. He's good and retired, and he's, like you said, probably the best commentator in boxing right now. But I think he always wanted to fight Canelo, and that maybe that'll never happen. But it's just interesting. I don't think it's about him with helping Caleb or anything like that. But it is interesting that looks like that may probably never happen, and he always wanted it to. But now we're getting, in some way, Andre Ward a part of this Canelo stuff. So,
I mean, think about it. If he always wanted to fight Canelo, how much
studying him?
How much does he have in here
that
he was never able to get out himself? You know what I mean? Now he has an opportunity to give it to somebody else in hopes that he wins. You know what I mean? So I'm sure that Dre will be watching the fight with both eyes and ears open and open to anything that can happen in that night. I don't think he's going to be solely for Canelo because he wanted to fight. Solely for Caleb because he wanted to fight Canelo. Yeah. And he'll be expecting Caleb to do everything that he showed him or anything like that. I think he'll be an open book and ready for any possibility.
When Zytel was saying that, and then you kind of confirmed it, it reminds me when we talked about your Dennis Ugas fighting Pacquiao, that you always want to fight that guy. So if Dre all these years, whether it was something where I'm like, I really want to fight him, or you kind of think, it'd be a cool fight. Like you said with Maidana, like it was something that kind of would have been a fight that would have maybe happened. And so, yeah, Dre is able just to think of stuff over the years where he's like, yeah, I think that could work against Canelo. Or, maybe, when Canelo does this, somebody could do this, whether it was him or Caleb. And they're not obviously that similar fighters, but both defensively sound, slick fighters. So I think the advice will be on the money. And then we mentioned old boxers. Man, you talk about an old boxer and another thing that's just jacked up about boxing. So Oscar De La Hoya, hopefully he makes a quick recovery.
Yeah.
Obviously it was in the hospital with COVID-19, but as I tell, so he's out of here. But but yeah, so De La Hoya is out of the fight versus Belfor, and now Evander Holyfield stepping in.
Yeah. I was on a call.
Will be in Florida now. I
was on a production call. And they were asking me questions about Belfor. I didn't know much about him. So while we're on the call, I'm like, oh, I got to show up. You know what I mean? Yeah. So I start watching while I'm on the call. And I said, oh, shoot. This dude's decent.
Same thing I said.
I said, I know like the subtle differences between boxers and MMA fighters. And I'm not saying this dude is a boxer, but he's got some stuff. He's got some juice. And if Oscar's gets lazy at some point, that juice could have an impact on the fight. Now we got Evander Holyfield, and I'm just not sure, man. I don't know what to really even say about it. You know what I mean? I think if Evander's got to be close to I
believe he's 58 is what the number that comes to mind.
Yeah, and I know he's been wanting to get back in the ring for so long, even well before this Roy Jones and Mike Tyson thing took off, and seemed like this kind of took lift off, was the lift off for all of the YouTube sensations and fighters who wanted to come back and things like that. He's been talking about coming back for a long time, and I guess he feels like this is his opportunity. It's what I said to you guys through text. You know, you can't be Father Time. And two things happen with Father Time. You're gonna lose your athleticism over the course of time. And then the other side of that is everything that you used to be, you just aren't, and you don't really understand it. And no disrespect to Evander, I'm definitely hoping the best for him, but
absolutely,
I just don't think that this is the right fight at this point. You know what I mean? Like, and I don't know, because he's been doing it since he's 10 years old. So yeah, this kind of like riding the bike. But at some
point, the bike's not the same. The rider of the bike's not the same.
I'm 34. I'm 33, and I'm just in another 10 years. I'm not gonna be able to ride the bike the way that I did when I was 33. Yeah. 10 years beyond that, it goes on. You know, so
like you were saying, he wants to do this. I'm like, yeah, I want to be as skinny as I was, 10 years ago. But like, I'm not, and I can't be sometimes. But
15. Belfort is
something like that.
44 years old, 14 years young. So.
Yeah,
the fact that he's 44 and he's 14 years younger is absurd.
But I said the exact same thing you said, Shawn, when I watched some clips of Belfort a couple months back before he was going to fight on that Teofimo undercard. It's like, this guy is nice.
Yeah.
And then he told us a story about, well, actually, I was going to be signed in boxing in '96 before I did the UFC. Muhammad Ali came to my hotel room and they gave me the big signing bonus and everything, but I turned it down for my passion for MMA.
Wow.
And
the wrestling and all that. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Right. But he said, oh yeah, I was all that. Like they Aram and everybody wanted me back in the 90s.
This could be a problem.
Yeah. He could have been a problem.
Yeah. This could be a problem.
I really would like to see Evander. Also, Real Deal is one of my favorite nicknames. It's very simple, but just it's so damn solid. But I hope for Evander's sake, obviously you're a legend of the sport, just make it out healthy.
I mean, he's the second greatest, in my opinion. I think he's the second greatest heavyweight of all time behind Ali. When you talk
about wow,
he's the only 4-time heavyweight champion of all time. I mean, he beat who else can say they beat George Foreman and Larry Holmes and Mike Tyson and David Tua and all. Oh my God, on and on and on and on and on. But
I had a question for Ice, man. I'll ask him. I'll ask him next time we have him on. But I wanted to hear from him what he thought the difference was in this generation's fighters opposed to the generations that he's seen come previous. I've had plenty of opportunities to hang out with Evander. And every time I hang out with Evander, I get this sense, the same thing I get from Bernard Hopkins and Andre Ward. Those three guys, I get this sense that fighting, war, conquering their opponent, being great. I mean, like just anything that comes with those words, like greatness and stuff like that, is all Evander ever cared about. It seemed like he cared about that more than he cared about the money, more than he cared about fame, more than he cared about fighting at the Caesars, anything like that. It seemed like to his core, I just wanted to be better than anybody I was in the ring with on that night. You know what I mean? So I know he's chasing that again, and I'm hoping he's able to feel that and not feel much more than that on that night.
Yeah,
because he could lose that fight because of all the things we said about Belfort. He's 14 years younger. And
he's 58. He could hurt himself getting out of bed. Like, I mean, it's just
take it easy.
I'm just saying, it's like
again. So like I said, he's been wanting this for a long time. The dude he trains.
He looks Bernard good. Like he looks like he's in good shape.
And Bernard does the same thing. Bernard he travels with training gear. He trains wherever he's at, and even especially when he's home, he still gets down. You know what I mean? I don't know if either of those guys are sparring like Iceman, but they all are those type of guys where they just stay ready.
And that fight is moved to Florida. They're trying to get it sanctioned as an official bout. I know Anderson Silva's fighting again. These are weird times, but shout out to the Spider. But that's pretty much it for boxing coming up. And then
Anderson Silva's fighting Ortiz.
Tito Ortiz.
Tito.
Who also is somebody that like I remember watching randomly on like commercials like 20 years ago. So it's like it's just weird times. But that's it. We got Fulton and Figueroa the next week, so we'll talk about that on the next show. But that'll be a great one. So we'll preview that. But that's pretty much it. We'll be back in person next week as well.
I'm not gonna get it, but let me take a second before we get off. I came home this weekend. The high school your alma mater, my alma mater, Stonewall Falls High School, inducted me into the School Hall of Fame just today. And I had Nathan present me to everyone, and he did a fantastic job. I'm gonna see what I can do about getting the video. Maybe we'll end the show with the video of everything that was said and done this weekend. But I had a fantastic time, and I just wanted to say thank you to the city of Stonewall Falls, and also to the high school, Stonewall Falls High School. They did a fantastic job presenting us and putting us, inducting us into our Hall of Fame, and definitely had it was worth the trip coming back.
No doubt.
So hopefully right now there'll be a video playing of the induction and all that kind of stuff. So enjoy and God bless.
Presenting Shawn Porter will be Stowe alum, Stowe former basketball player, Nathan Bauer Malone.
Whether boxing, commentating, or riding in the Stowe parade, Shawn has always been in the spotlight. Luckily, I got to see Shawn behind the scenes and grow up with this amazing guy. He has changed my diapers, taught me how to play football, and has teased me just like every older brother would do. Many kids would say LeBron or one of the 20 quarterbacks the Browns had over the years as their inspiration or role model. For me, it was always Shawn. I remember moving to Stowe from High School before Shawn's junior year. He was immediately the star of the football team. He broke the record or tied the record for 6 touchdowns in one game, and he was doing all he could to help his team win the game. Over the years, Shawn has grown in popularity and is now commentating on TV, but he still personifies what Stowe, I believe, represents. One of the big things I've learned at Stowe and watching Shawn is resilience. Coach Close always emphasized how to respond when you face adversity. When you get knocked down, you better get back up, is always what he said. Shawn might be doing the knocking down a lot more, but what I respect about him is that he embodies this mindset when he's facing negativity. People have doubted Shawn all of his life, but he always seems to prove them wrong. And that takes more than hard work and dedication. It also takes a strong mind to believe in yourself and block everything out. Shawn is the kindest, most friendly person you'll ever meet. His smile instantly lights up every room he walks in. With his celebrity status, it can be very easy to see yourself as above others. Yet, he always treats everyone with respect, no matter who it is. I recall a time when he was jumping on a trampoline with me and my friends, and he was trying to do a backflip every time, but every time he would scream and flail his hands like a little girl. And to this day, my friends and I still laugh about it. And this happened right when Shawn was turned professional, had a big fight coming up. He didn't have to hang out with us. You know, we were young, but you probably should not have been doing that at all. But he wanted to just be with us kids and just hang out and enjoy the time we had together. And but like more importantly, nothing compares to this man's love for his family. God has blessed him with a beautiful wife, Leticia, and 2 awesome boys that he treats with full love and kindness. He represents what it means to be a family man. Years back, I go into the locker room, and this is right after Shawn lost the match. And I find him sitting down in a chair just contemplating what just happened. And he calls over to me, and I walk over there. I was, what could he say? And he asked me, he's like, "Do you have a good time?" I was thrown off guard. I was kind of shocked. You know, like when I lose, I'm upset. I don't want to talk to anyone. But for some reason, he was considering how I felt and how I enjoyed it. I felt like a celebrity that day. I was ringside, I was hanging out. And so, but later I asked him, why was he so calm after the fight? And his response was, it was amazing to see all the people that truly care about you in one place. They wish the best of me, and at times like these is when you need them the most. They keep me grounded, and that means the most to me. And that sticks with me for the rest of my life. It's all about the people you have around you. And all these qualities makes the city of Stowe, his family, and myself very, very proud of him. And I am honored to be able to introduce Shawn Porter into the Stowe Hall of Fame.
Thank you, everybody, for being here today. I'm going to be quick. I have 3 stories that I want to tell you guys how important this award is to me. The first story that I have is it's actually a confirmation for what Coach Cole said earlier today. I remember when I first moved here to the city of Stowe, and I was walking through the hallways, just being a student, but I happened to walk past the case that shows all the memorabilia and legacies of all the students and athletes who have come through the school Hall of Fame. And I said, one day I'm going to be in this Hall of Fame. And that's a true story. And that's a confirmation for what you said. As kids, students there, we need to see who's come before us and the things that they have done. I remember being a junior in high school, a little conceited and definitely prideful of me. But I looked at everything that was in that case, and I said, they did it, I can do it too. I'm gonna be in this Hall of Fame someday. And I was speaking to a mentor earlier this week, and I told him that I was gonna be coming here, being inducted into Hall of Fame. He said, man, that's big, man, I'm so happy for you. I said, listen, I think my speech was broke 18 when I was 18 years old, so I'm really excited and ready for this moment. The next story that I have for you all, again, will reflect what this award means to me. We had a tough game my junior year, my first year here. We had a tough game against Walsh. And coming back here, our first home game was against a school in Cleveland, St. Joe's. Against St. Joe's, I scored 4 touchdowns in the game, and we were tied. At the end of the game, 4th quarter, I scored the last touchdown, making 31-31. And I had been on defense, but I'd been a cornerback the entire game. My coach moved me to safety, and he's like, hey, you guys go safety as the last line of defense. And I felt the responsibility of that moment really come to me, of making sure not only did we not lose the game, but somehow, some way, we would win this game. And I'm cheating. I am supposed to be at safety, but I moved up. That way I can get to whoever gets the ball first, all that. So I'm cheating, I'm playing my position, but I'm playing the ball, I'm playing to win. And that is a rule that I live by, play to win. And I remember the quarterback, he throws the ball up, I catch this interception, and I get tackled on their side of the field, and I put us in position to kick the field goal and win the game. And that was a big moment for Stowe, because that was the first win that Stowe had in a very long time. But for me, what made it special was when the field goal was kicked, it was the end of the game, and all of the students ran into the field. It was like a movie, and I had never experienced anything like this before. And I got a moment to experience how special Stowe Falls is, how special the people there were. At that point in time, I'm a newbie to the school. Kids are just getting familiar with who I am. I play football, this and that. And that really was a moment for me where I said, wow, this is amazing. And I'll never forget this moment right here. I really didn't think that in that moment. And the last story I'm going to tell you guys is probably the story that means the most to me. 2 years before I came in the store, I was at Crawford-Porter. You guys know the rivalry there. And my sophomore year, I didn't play as much as I should have. And my dad was pretty upset. He said, "We're changing schools." And I had been there for a few years, didn't want to change the kids and friends, so on and so forth, but I always followed my dad's lead. And my dad says, "All right, we're going to figure out where we're going to go." And my dad basically said, "Hey, what are you thinking about?" I knew that school was close, but I also knew that Hudson was close too. And we had also had some ties out of Ravenna, so I knew what we could do at Ravenna, and also knew what could happen if I went to if I went to Hudson High School. But it happens that we come to Stowe, I get a tour of the school. The school's amazing, much different from College Falls. The kids are cool, all this and that. And I just want to play football, I want to be successful, and I want to have fun, of course, as a kid. And I will never forget when we had our first game against Walsh. I thought to myself, I picked the wrong school. Because it was that game, it was bad. I remember thinking, I picked the wrong school. And you fast forward the week after that, going back to that same memory I had, catching that interception, putting us in position to win the game. Everybody comes on the field, unbelievable experience for me. But then I remember going home that night, and I remember thinking to myself, I picked the right school. Because I don't think that would happen anywhere else for me, at least certainly not at that point in time. And I remember thinking to myself, we picked the right school, and we picked the right community. You guys have always been there for me. It's been an amazing journey ever since I've come to this community. We've done parades. You guys have always had me come to the school and see everyone. It's been amazing, and even more amazing is being 17, looking in a case and I'm gonna be there one day, and getting an email and a call some years ago, 2 years ago actually, and telling me that I was going to be inducted into the Hall of Fame. So this is very, very special to me. As Nathan said, I do TV commentary. I'm a professional boxer. I've been around the world fighting. Been to the Olympics, now broadcasting the Olympics as well. I've done a lot of amazing things in my life, but I would definitely say one of the more amazing things in my life is being a part of this community. Thank you all. Congratulations again to all the inductees. And I have to acknowledge my dad, because I really wouldn't be here if it wasn't for him. If it was my choice, I was going somewhere else. But we picked the perfect school, we picked the perfect community. Thank you all.
What's up? I'm Showtime Shawn Porter.
I'm Ed. Follow me on IG, Ed with 2 T's.
This is the Porter Way Podcast. This is Anthony Brunel, and this is Carson A. Merck. Tell them what to do.
Hey, like, subscribe, comment, follow us on all social media platforms.
Subscribe.
I'm from Louisiana. I'll talk with a B. Let's do it. Let's do it again.
All right. Just introduce yourself.
Okay.
And then you tell them what to do.
Like, comment, subscribe.
Porter Way Podcast.
You're already here.
Hey, this is our outro. We're going to do it how we want to.
I'm Showtime Shawn Porter.
I'm Anthony Breno.
Carson A. Merck. Like, subscribe, comment.
This is the Porter Way.